What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the state of Xbox because Microsoft just got officially called out in a way by the American government. The FTC has just filed new paperwork claiming that the state of Xbox is now a degraded product, that Xbox Game Pass continues to get worse and it's hurting consumers. Now, let's talk about what this means, because a government saying stuff like this, it could have actual bigger ramifications, but it might not. Let's get into it. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, obviously, over the course of almost 2 years, there was a very extended and extremely messy court case between Activision Blizzard, the American government, and Microsoft. They were trying to get bought out for $70 billion. Xbox had the cash, and the deal did eventually go through. But during the course of that, I covered the case very closely, and the FTC's major complaint that they brought up over and over again was essentially, hey, is Xbox going to do better at providing a way for people to enjoy games by buying this? That was pretty much their bottom line, is, okay, you're making a $70 billion deal to buy everything from Diablo to Overwatch to World of Warcraft to Crash Bandicoot to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and freaking Candy Crush and, of course, Call of Duty. The Activision Blizzard deal was just so big, the American government's, their bottom line was okay, that's fine, but will this be good for the gamers? Because if it reduces choice, if it creates a monopoly or something like that, we're going to block the deal. Obviously now in 2024, the deal didn't get blocked. The deal did go through, but the FTC is still trying to do appeals. They're still seemingly trying to overturn this. Now, I want to make it clear, I don't think this is possible. I'm not sure there's ever been a completely finished merger that's been undone, but essentially their point here is that Microsoft is now doing consumer harm, that they're continually making Game Pass worse, they're not providing more games, and in a lot of ways, Activision Blizzard may end up being a lot worse for the gamers that were already enjoying it. Now, in a lot of the comments, people are basically just making fun of the fact that the FTC is even still doing this. I do honestly think this is the biggest point. The party has ended an hour ago and he's still here. Yeah, the American government, I think it's honestly just the fact that obviously these are a bunch of lawyers and anti-monopoly people. Their job is to just dig and dig and dig. It does remind me though, I dated this person a while back. It was this party girl, very fun person. She wanted to stay at every single party though until 3 a.m. And obviously I'm a very old man. I should not have been dating somebody like that, but I would oftentimes fall asleep on the couch like an old man. And she'd have to wake me up when it was time to leave. And a lot of times I had to tell her hey, I'm super dead tired. The party is basically over. It's only you and the hosts at this point. Let's wrap it up. The FTC is starting to feel like that. Man, at some point, you got to use taxpayer dollars to dig into something else. Okay, so their point, though, is the fact that they're considering this new tier of Xbox Game Pass to be a degraded product. During a lot of the court case, their big point is that Microsoft kept saying, our goal is to give more people access to Activision. We're not trying to cut things off. We pinky promise we're not going to block it from going to Nintendo. We're not going to block it from going to PlayStation. We're going to continue to sell stuff. Even newly developed stuff is still going to be going to other consoles. I think it's interesting that this new tier is something that people are considering a lie. Now, some Xbox fanboys are laughing. Xbox played the FTC like a fiddle. They'll continue to do so. So some people are almost saying yeah, it is a lie. They did totally lie, but that's okay. A lot of the people, though, I did think it's interesting that a lot of this stuff, we all knew the price point for Game Pass was unsustainable. Don't get me wrong, the access, it's worth it, but for the folks who don't play any of these games, they're now forced to pay extra money to have access to multiplayer and other games they do not own. Xbox fans attacked the FTC relentlessly for fighting to stop the merger. The results are closed legacy studios, degrading projects, and thousands of job losses. They complained about Xbox Game Pass doing this, but for some reason they've been ignoring what other platforms have been doing with their subscriptions. Yeah, I mean, it does suck that, in general, I do think the FTC could be digging into other stuff. A lot of people are talking about the fact that the FTC has been rattling this cage for the last 6 months. They've also been saying, like, hey, the fact that they just did mass firings the second they got acquired, that was a bit weird. They're saying, oh, we were going to fire everybody. That was always the plan. We didn't say we weren't going to fire everybody. This is the main thing, though. The FTC keeps hammering home on this specific point. This is exactly the consumer harm we tried to warn you about while fighting the Activision Blizzard deal. I guess it really comes down to the fact that whether you consider this to be lies, their stuff is all public. You can look at all the court filings themselves. There is a lot of statements that I think are directly contradictory. They said straight up they're not going to raise the price, but they did. Now, they could say, oh, well, PlayStation raised their price, so we're just matching inflation. That excuse, I think, does work. I don't think they're going to undo this merger because Game Pass got 25% more expensive. I think it's just interesting that there are lists of statements now that straight up seem to be absolutely untrue. So oh, we're going to increase the price. Oh, well, we said we weren't going to do that. They stated Call of Duty would be available on Xbox Game Pass. Now they're releasing a new version of Game Pass that doesn't actually have it. We want to ensure that the acquisition of Activision Blizzard benefits the company's workers. It's funny they said that and then did mass layoffs of almost 2,000 people instantly after closing the deal. It's the type of thing where I do not think they can unmake this. Even if somehow they manage to splinter part of the company or go back to the trials. I mean, at this point, even if for some reason, and this isn't going to happen, but even if somehow magic wand gets waved and they undid the deal, Activision is kind of screwed. They can't hire back all these people. They've gutted entire departments and stuff like that. Microsoft has probably already canceled games and stuff that they deem as not profitable and not worth it. But it's interesting that Microsoft's deal is clearly starting to shift. Microsoft's idea of success is no longer about selling Xboxes. It's about selling Xbox Game Pass. It's about them trying to find ways to boost profit at any cost. I do really think that Microsoft's idea of the gaming industry has begun to pivot. You can see with something like this, where I see a lot of Xbox fans. More and more, I feel like the conversation is comparing Game Pass to something like Netflix. You never own your Netflix shows. You just watch them, you enjoy them, and then they're gone. They're in your memory, but you don't own a physical disc. You don't own the show on a Blu-ray. I think a lot of Game Pass people have begun to think of it like that, of going, okay, I'm paying a fee to experience it, but when there's not a big new show, or in this case, a big new game, I'll unsubscribe. And I feel like they're just not as bothered by these continual price increases. The fact that he's just listing it here next to Hulu, I kind of, no offense to this gentleman, I'm not calling him a liar or anything like that, but I cannot believe that somebody would pay for Game Pass Ultimate and PlayStation Plus Premium unless you're as dumb as I am. Now, I got PlayStation Plus Premium on a discount during the Black Friday sale. I bought a couple years of it, but it is interesting to me that I think Game Pass wants to be thought of like this by the Xbox fanboys. I think they want to just treat it as something you can enjoy and then leave whenever you want. Game Pass numbers are going down. They're going down, and they've been continually going down, and that's part of why this price increase doesn't shock me. But I think the FTC's complaints, they make sense, but nothing's going to happen from this. I think it's just interesting to talk about. So I'm chiming in to basically say they're not going to undo this deal. They're not going to like rip these companies apart. I do think that Activision and Blizzard and all this are going to pretty much continue to exist in the way they have for the last 10 years. Hopefully we keep seeing stuff come to Game Pass. I mean, I'm pretty much at a point where I think I'm done with Game Pass personally. Maybe I'll get Game Pass for PC instead of Game Pass Ultimate on my console. But at this point, I think the done deal is done. And you can't undo it. I don't know. This is just my off-the-cuff thoughts. What do you guys think about this? Please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.